to participate in the Labour 20 alongside our government's participation in the G20. We continue to participate in the ILO, in the BRICS through the BRICS Trade Union Forum, in the AU, in SADC structures, because we know the importance of the working class voice in all these and other multilateral bodies. While the democratic transition of 1994 brought about profound political changes and the dismantling of apartheid legal framework, the deeply entrenched economic structures and inequality that were the legacy of colonialism and apartheid have proven far more resistant to change. And the struggle against low-wage labor continues to be a central challenge in the post-apartheid South Africa. The South African economy remains strongly shaped by resource extraction and exports of primary commodities. The economy also remains highly centralized, with monopoly capital and the mineral and energy complex remaining a dominant force. The top 10 South African exports, which account for 51% of the total exports, are dominated by exports of resources and minerals. Since the early 1990s, the South African economy has experienced significant trend towards financialization, marked by the increased prominence and influence of financial markets, institutions, and motives relative to the overall economy. This shift, comrades, has been closely associated with the adoption of neoliberal economic policies, which have actively promoted the interests of the financial sector through the deregulation and privatization. Our country continues to grapple with exceptionally high rates of unemployment, which disproportionately affect black young people. The official unemployment rate was 31.9% in the fourth quarter of 2024, with the expanded unemployment rate, which include discouraged job seekers, standing at 41.9%. Youth unemployment is particularly high, with rates reaching 59.6% amongst young people aged 15 to 24. Overall, comrades, unemployment remains stubbornly high in our country. While organized labor has won major victories, we also face very serious challenges. There is a rising tendency of employers to undermine collective bargaining, abandon signed wage agreements, and impose wage freezes on workers who are already drowning in debt and not able to provide for their families. The persistent wage gap between workers and executives undermines social justice and perpetuates inequalities in our country. Workers continue to face hazardous working conditions, inadequate health and safety protocols, and insufficient compensation for work-related injuries. Gender-based violence is a profound and widespread problem in South Africa, impacting almost every aspect of life. Gender-based violence, which disproportionately affects women and girls, is systematic and deeply entrenched in institutions, culture, and traditions. The decline in trade union membership density globally challenges trade unions who rely on membership numbers to have power to fight workers' battles for better working conditions and better wages. We therefore call for the intensification of the recruitment campaign in all affiliates of Cosatu. We should resist the strategy of capitals to roll back the democratic gains and workers' hard-earned rights and incomes to consolidate its class power. This is demonstrated by the continued fight by capital and employers to forcefully change the current structure of the economy and the labor relations system to erode further the gains workers have made. It is for these reasons, comrades, that as a federation, we have consistently worked with the South African Communist Party of the financial sector campaign and in calling for the prescribed asset for socially useful investment, as well as the imposition of wealth tax and the increased corporate income tax to discourage this investment strike and to reduce the inequalities in our country. The battle for worker control of retirement and civic funds is at the center of our decisive struggle for working class control and a say over our own investment as workers and retirement funds. We also strongly oppose changes to labor laws, comrades, proposed by business and government that threatens to undermine and erode the hard-won rights in the labor law. We have engaged in network over the last 2 years to secure workers' rights, and we have defeated the most conservative and regressive protocols and won some major gains. Amongst others, comrades, is the defeat of a variety of proposals to weaken our labor laws and roll back workers' rights in South Africa. Defeating proposals to reduce the national minimum wage to 20 rand an hour. And many of the areas that were able to defeat business and government as they seek to reverse the hard-won labor rights of workers in South Africa. Some of the areas of substantial disagreements remain, comrades, including exempting SMMEs from collective bargaining council agreements. Cosatu is continuing to engage with the government on this to ensure that when the bills are finally tabled before Parliament, those and all other remaining areas of disagreements are resolved in the interest of workers in South Africa. Comrades, Cosatu recently elected new leaders in all 9 provinces, including here in KwaZulu-Natal. We must commit as Cosatu, as well as all our unions, to ensure that we do not allow this federation to be weakened, or even worse, to fracture into disarray in our hands. We must do this first by making sure that as Cosatu, we strengthen our political analysis of the prevailing conditions, as well as building strong and reliable organizational programs to ensure that this federation and our affiliates are equal to the mammoth task ahead. These include defending the gains of our freedom, defending workers from the onslaught of retrenchments, job losses, growing precarity faced by workers in every sector of the economy. Now, even including the public sector, we must confront increasing tendencies by employers to undermine workers' gains, like collective bargaining. Persistent attempts by employers to amend the Labor Relations Act and to take away protections of workers against unfair labor dismissals, and the push by employers at NEDLEC to amend our right to strike. This is the right that we must defend, comrades, as workers in South Africa, the right to strike. That is why, comrades, standing here as Cosatu, we are in support of the demands and the grievances by municipal workers in eThekwini. We are calling upon the provincial government here. We are calling upon our movement, the ANC. We are calling upon the leadership of the municipality of eThekwini, the executive mayor here. Please address indaba zabasebenzi la eThekwini. That is what we are demanding, comrades. At our last 14th National Congress, this federation highlighted these challenges, calling for the federation in its medium-term vision 2035 to rebuild Cosatu engines, building the federation and its affiliates, prioritizing political and ideological education as well as training of shop stewards to effectively represent workers on the shop floor. Similarly, the SACP's 15th National Congress also addressed these contradictions posited in the party's program for building a powerful socialist movement for workers and the poor. Now, comrades, our 14th National Congress identified the following strategic tasks. One, being building and strengthening Cosatu and its affiliates. We need to build Cosatu, comrades. We need to build our unions within Cosatu. That is what the 14th National Congress has said to us. We need to build unity in actions with other unions and federations. We need to build and strengthen the socialist axis. We need to build campaigns with mass-based organization and progressive NGOs. And lastly, we need to build and fight for the renewal of our movement, African National Congress. Now, comrades, as part of building Cosatu, we must analyze our progress in each of the tasks identified by the 14th National Congress, assess the state of Cosatu and our unions in the run-up to our 8th Central Committee and our Cosatu Congress next year. Our strategic tasks include recruiting and mobilizing unorganized workers. We must rebuild Cosatu engines. We must foster unity in our unions and the federation. We must strengthen the socialist axis, and as we said, we must fight for the renewal of the ANC. At our last CEC in February, we agreed to draft a discussion paper for the special CEC held on the 14th of April for affiliates to engage with members and workers on the SACP's Special National Congress resolution to contest state power during the 2026 local government elections. These important discussions, comrades, should refine and enhance the discussion paper in preparation for our 8th Central Committee and our National Congress in September 2025 and 26 respectively. The special CEC agreed on the need to engage the ANC and the party on their discussions on the modalities for both alliance partners contesting the 2026 local government elections. And most importantly, to work collectively as the alliance partners to ensure that the federation, the alliance, workers and the working class are not divided. We continue to call, comrades, for workers in South Africa, for Cosatu and its unions. We must never be divided by the decision of the party to contest the elections. We must remain a united revolutionary force of organized workers within the alliance. As we undertake engagements with workers, we must engage the party and the ANC to ensure a united way forward, inclusive of the SACP's Special National Congress resolution. It is time for unity, comrades. It is time for maturity. It is time for determination amongst the revolutionary forces in South Africa. We must make sure that we strengthen the liberation forces organized within the Revolutionary Alliance in South Africa, because we still need to advance the objectives of our revolution, comrades, of building a better South Africa for all our people. Cosatu remains committed to that revolutionary alliance, comrades, and its strategic objective of building a better South Africa for all our people, because we know that as workers, we stand to benefit out of the outcomes of our revolution in South Africa. I think Cosatu, I think. Long live Cosatu, long live. Siyabonga, comrades.
Comrade Asiyalo TGS ihlombe ne-message enkulu evela ekhaya elikhulu Cosatu. Thank you very much, TGS. Sikuzwile, comrades. We are now taking messages of support. The first message will come from the movement, the ANC. The ANC, comrade, representative of former chairperson of Gauteng province, former premier of Gauteng, former minister of arts and culture, former treasurer general of the African National Congress, and currently the deputy president of the ANC and that of the Republic of South Africa. Comrade Paul Mashatile is here, sent by the movement to address us. Amandla! Viva ANC! Viva! Mongameli, you are in your hands, please.
Mandla, Mata, phambili ngeCosatu, phambili ngeSouth African Communist Party, phambili ngeAfrican National Congress, phambili ngeSANCO, phambili wathinto mama phambili nge-ANC Women's League, phambili Raw Young Lions, Raw phambili nge-ANC Youth League, phambili ngama-veterans wethu, phambili nge-Progressive Youth Alliance, phambili qina msebenzi, qina Qina mhlali qina. Mangibonge mphathi wohlelo Comrade Phumlani Duma Mthombeni. Ngibulise inkokeli zonke zika Cosatu ezikhona la namhlanje. Zikhokhelwa uComrade Gerald Twala, Deputy Secretary General. Ngibulise with also the former leaders beCosatu abakhona namhlanje la. I saw Comrades Dumo Dlamini, Buliso Comrade Blade Nzimande, the national chairperson of the South African Communist Party, Bulise First Deputy President Wesanko, Comrades Christopher Malimecha, Bulise Nkokeli zika ANC zikhokhelwa phambili, those who are deployed here in KZN, led by Comrade Masemula. Greet all the leaders of the province, the KZN PTT, led by Comrade Jeff Hadebe. Let me also greet the representatives of the people of Palestine. We stand in solidarity with you. Solidarity forever, because union makes us stronger. Mbulise bonke abakhona la namhlanje in this stadium, kakhulukazi nina basebenzi, siyanibulisa nonke. Qina msebenzi qina. Qina msebenzi qina. Let us also greet all the workers throughout our country and the world. Basebenzi, I bring you revolutionary greetings on behalf of the leadership of the African National Congress today. We are very humbled by this opportunity given to us to deliver the message of support from the ANC to all our fellow workers and the entire working class across the length and breadth of our country. Comrades, as the ANC, we recognize the importance of workers and their rights in South Africa. We further recognize the sacrifices and the hard work of our workers who wake up every morning to work for their families and, more importantly, to make meaningful contributions to the economy of our country. The struggle of the ANC against the apartheid regime has always been led by ordinary workers. That is why the well-being of the working class has always been part of our political ideology. As the ANC, we pledge to continue our fight for economic freedom and the improvement of living wages for all workers. The ANC will always put the needs of the people, and in particular, the working class first. We have now agreed, after discussion with parties in the government of national unity and parties represented in parliament and various stakeholders, that the 2025 national budget must be reviewed. To this end, the Speaker of the National Assembly has acceded to the request by the Minister of Finance, Comrade Enoch Godongwane, to retable the 2025 national budget without the increase in VAT. Parliament, through its programming committees, is in serious engagements to finalize the dates and logistical arrangement for the tabling of this revised 2025 national budget. While the current situation is indeed unprecedented in the history of our democracy, it has provided us with important lessons, not only on how we govern under these conditions, but also on how we should manage budget processes as we move forward under the government of national unity. Comrades, as the African National Congress, we are committed to adopting a pro-poor budget that is designed to benefit the poor and the working class, that promote inclusive growth, protects the vulnerable, and advances the development of all our people. At the same time, we need to manage public funds in a sustainable manner. We need to raise the necessary resources without increasing the burden on the poor and the working class, without dampening inclusive growth, and without taking on a debt burden that further erodes social spending. We welcome the contributions that Cosatu and other formations have made towards the development of this budget. And we urge organized labor to continue to engage in a process to safeguard the interests of the poor and the working class. Comrades, as the African National Congress, our goal is to establish a socially contented democracy that embodies the most valuable traditions of social democracy. This includes prioritizing social issues such as healthcare, education, social safety nets, focusing on the state's role in economic life, promoting full employment, equality, and strong trade union partnership, and promoting international solidarity. Comrades and compatriots, let me redirect my attention to this special May Day that we are having today. Across South Africa and the world, workers are gathered today to celebrate the great victories that they have achieved in many years. The gathering serves both as a celebration of workers' rights and as a reminder of the critical role that the trade unions, the Communist Party, and other labor organizations have played in the efforts to dismantle the apartheid system and build a non-racial, non-sexist, and democratic South Africa. This year, in December, we will join you, Basebenzi, as you celebrate the 40th anniversary of the formation of Cosatu, a union that represents the interests of workers at all times. And I'm happy that today we are celebrating in the stadium where Cosatu was founded 40 years ago. The founding of Cosatu on the 1st of December 1985 was a truly historic moment in the struggle for workers' rights and in the quest for the unity of the working class. It also signified a pivotal moment in South Africa's fight for democracy and freedom. Today, Program Director, we pay tribute to the leaders and members of Cosatu who sacrificed so much in the achievement of democracy and the advancements of the rights of workers. Their contributions must never be forgotten. We in particular today remember Comrade Elijah Barai and many other leaders of this federation. Since its formation, Cosatu has been at the forefront of the struggle to fundamentally transform our society to build an economy from which all people benefit. Working together with the ANC and the alliance formation, Cosatu has led the way in forging a new labor relation regime in the democratic South Africa. Cosatu, the leading representative of South African organized workers, represents the hopes and aspirations of all workers in the country. Established in solidarity and with solidarity and unity principles, Cosatu must continue its tireless efforts to unite South African workers. Comrades and compatriots, as we celebrate the great progress that has been made over the past 30 years, we recognize that the struggle is far from over. South African workers face multitudes of challenges, including high unemployment or struggle to earn a decent wage, skills shortages, and issues related to employment equity and the gig economy. Poverty, inequality continue to define our society. Simply put, we are still a long way from achieving total emancipation for our people. We do not have economic freedom as described by the Freedom Charter, which envisioned a South African economic system in which national wealth is shared by all, not just a privileged few. This year, we are celebrating 70 years of the Freedom Charter that was adopted in 1955. We, however, comrades, acknowledge the great improvements that have been made in the lives of many poor South Africans and the working class. Since 1994, we have delivered millions of houses and housing opportunities, providing safety and dignity to poor households. The government plans to build more housing in city centers and near work and business opportunities, redesign housing subsidies, allocate more funding towards affordable housing programs, and release underutilized state properties for development. Currently, millions of houses have access to electricity, running water, and proper sanitation. According to Census 2022 results, access to electricity in South Africa is now standing at 94.7%. We remain committed to achieving universal electricity access by 2020. Program Director, we have seen improvement in access to healthcare. We are going to forge ahead with the implementation of the National Health Insurance, the NHI. Millions of children can now attend school without paying school fees, and students from poor and working class families now receive funding to attend universities and colleges. However, we also know that many families struggle to put food on the table. Crime is rife in communities across the country. Violence against women and children continue unabated. It important that we intensify our fight against crime and gender-based violence and femicide. We must intensify efforts to deal with corruption in both the public and the private sectors that depletes our country's resources and impairs service delivery to citizens. Program Director, we are also grateful that we are celebrating May Day under different circumstances. And I need to take a little time just to explain this situation. Following the 2024 general elections, the African National Congress, after this election, lost its majority. We described the situation as a strategic setback for the National Democratic Revolution. It was indeed a setback for our ongoing struggle for fundamental transformation of our economy and society. And it was a setback for the struggles of the working class and many of the people who are struggling. However, comrades, although it is indeed a setback, it was never a defeat. We can and we will recover as we intensify our work on the ground. As has been the case throughout our history, we have had to adapt to new circumstances of struggle. We have had to change tactics while holding firm on our principles and the pursuit of our strategic goals. As we consider these new conditions, we agreed that the best way forward will be the establishment of an inclusive government of national unity. Whilst there are parties within the GNU that have historically opposed the transformation of our society and the interests of the workers and the working class in particular, the GNU has agreed to certain strategic priorities and a program of action that will take our country forward. This program, comrades, aims to drive inclusive growth and job creation. It aims to tackle poverty and reduce the cost of living. It aims to build a capable and developmental state that can meet the needs of all South Africans. In short, the GNU has developed a program that will advance the interests and improve the lives of the poor and the working class. Importantly, all the parties to the GNU agreed to a basic minimum program, or program of action rather, that protects the rights of workers. The GNU is not without challenges. Our task as the Alliance is to manage these challenges, find common ground, and continue to pursue the agenda of progressive change. We must keep in mind that the organization and mobilization of a wide range of social and economic forces brings about social and economic change. Comrades and compatriots, as much as we need to contest state power, we must continue to organize our people in the workplace, on the shop floor, and in educational institutions. As the Alliance, we must rebuild our structures to ensure that they are rooted within the everyday struggles of our people. To find ways to resolve our challenges and develop our nation, we intend to hold this year or next year a national dialogue, a consultative process involving many societal sectors. It will bring together government, political parties, civil society, labor, business, traditional leaders, women, youth, and many community voices. This dialogue or national dialogue will be a participatory process that is already unfolding as we speak in phases, from local consultation and sectoral engagements to national gatherings. We believe that the national dialogue will be a proper means on transforming our society in a fair and just manner. We want the voices of the workers to be prominent during the national dialogue. The workers must form part of this new chapter of our democracy as we engage in conversations that will take our country forward. Compatriots, this May Day is also taking place at a time that others describe as a turmoil in the global economy. The global economy is experiencing an increase in trade barriers and a decrease in growth projections. These developments will have and will impact on our economy and will lead to retrenchment and job losses. The global situation will make it more difficult for South Africa to address the economic and social challenges. We therefore need to understand and anticipate the effects of these developments, and we need to develop our own strategies to respond to them. This implies, amongst others, that we must diversify our trade. We need to expand into new markets, and we need to promote greater investments in our own local industries. We need to take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area to expand our trade with other African countries and work with our neighbors to develop regional value chains. We must work together to protect our national interests and support our economy and support our entire economy throughout the continent. We must reaffirm the vital role of a progressive revolutionary trade union federation in building a free, just and equal society. Compatriots, to bring about much needed change in the workplace, we must focus on economic development, increase skills and education, and promoting a more inclusive labor market. This indeed involves resolving unemployment, decreasing inequality, and ensuring that the labor market is responsive to the economy's changes, the economy's changing requirements and expectations. As members and leaders of Cosatu and all Cosatu affiliates, and as the alliance partners together, we need to take responsibility for rebuilding our alliance and to strengthen the federation for the benefit of the poor and the working class. We have a responsibility, comrades, to ensure that workers are properly recognized and rewarded for their vital contributions. It is the workers of our country who drive the economy, who produce our goods, and who provide our services, and who create our nation's wealth. Therefore, as I conclude, Let us take responsibility, comrades, for uniting the working class and all South Africans in order for us to transform our society. We must ensure that workers' rights are protected and supported at all times. With those few words, comrades, I wish all workers everywhere a revolutionary May Day. Mandla, matla, qina msebenzi qina, qina msebenzi qina. Mayikhuli Cosatu, mayikhule, mayiqini Cosatu, mayiqine, mandla. Siyabonga.
Siba! Siba! Tanzania! Siba! Judo! Hey!